Was anybody here last month?
Yes.
Everything's working. Including this, hopefully. Okay, so we're actually going to put you through a lot of work this month, the way it's turned out. But before that, while I'm thinking about it, I should mention we're having a bit of trouble with next month because that group that want to come here and shove us out seem to want to come in here and shove us out next month. So Chris was on this, but Chris isn't here today, so I don't know where she's up to. So I'll have to keep you informed with text. Do you all get a text message about the?
No, I'll have to give you my number.
So just give me your number, and I'll put you on the list, and you will get a text reminding you. And in this case, I'll send a text out saying where it's going to be. We think at worst it will be up on the second floor of ERC, which is the Education and Research Centre. There are big lifts to get you up there. That's where we work. There's a big-ish room there. It's not quite as big as this room, but we don't want to go there because the place is full of doctors, and you know what doctors are like. But that's the last option. If Chris has got somewhere else closer to here, then we'll use that instead. Okay, so bear that in mind for next month. There could be changes for next month. Right. So today. Nobody new, is there? Yeah, you've all had the instructions, haven't you? That's okay. Yeah, yes, okay. So today we have Findra, who I believe has spoken here before.
Yes.
It was one of our students a couple of years ago.
Yes, 2015.
Wow, that long ago. So we didn't let you go, and you've done some other stuff, and you're going to tell us about that. Okay, cool. Which I see is about IgG levels, which will be very popular. I get lots of questions about IgG.
Oh, really?
Yeah, so that'll be good. Then we'll have a break. We're a little bit late starting, so maybe that'll go back a bit. Then Megan's going to talk to you about the changes we're making to the patient's website and try and get your feedback on whether we're going in the right direction and what you think of the new website. So that might take quite a while. But if we get through all of that, after that is me, we're just in the process of applying for some funding to improve the qual forms that we currently use, of which I've got some examples here. I'm sure all of you remember the qual forms that you do every few months. We're going to try and change that. To do that, we need to get some funding, and to get some funding, we need 1 or 2 patients to write us a note saying, telling the people who are thinking of funding about the impact aspergillosis has on your life. That's what I think it's about. And then also to help us with the changes we might do. So that's what I will be doing later. But for now, Indra is going to talk. I'll just get you a microphone. Okay, so left lips somewhere
here.
The other way around, so it's
All right.
outwards.
Yeah, should be.
There you go.
Should be good. All right. Thank you.
Okay, that's working. So I'll set up your slides.
All right.
There you go.
Okay. Hello everybody, my name is Findra. Nice to meet you all. I'm a PhD student here with Professor David Denning and Dr. Rina Richardson. I'm gonna present like a little bit of my study, which is related to chronic pulmonary aspergillosis, which is like an infection of aspergillus which stay in a long time in the lung. Okay.
So do you want?
Okay. No, it's fine. I can do it. So this is a bit of background. So as we know that aspergillosis can infect our lung, and then they stay there, and sometimes only in the right side, sometimes in the left side, sometimes both of them. And if it is possible, so the doctor will offer you a surgery if the lesion is very small, or if the condition is possible, or maybe the antifungal is have a resistance to the Aspergillus. So surgery is one of the option. Or if for example there is a hemoptysis, the massive one, and then the doctor give you like a embolization, and the embolization doesn't work. So surgery is one of the option for the chronic pulmonary aspergillosis in this condition. And as we know, the IgG titer, which is antibody of the Aspergillus, is used to monitoring the patient here. So it takes from the blood sample. But however, there is no study that correlate between the outcome of the surgery and the titer or the level of the IgG Aspergillus antibody. So that's really clear that the purpose of my study is to evaluate the outcomes and the correlation between Aspergillus antibody IgG titer and the clinical condition of the patient. Like for example, for the next 2 years or 3 years, how the patient before surgery and how is it after surgery. That's the aims of the study, like the comparison. This one is just the what is called the part of the lung that have been taken and is infected by Aspergillus. You can see that.
So that's the fungal ball in the
Yeah,
surgical specimen.
yeah. So if the surgeon take it, and that's what it looks like, and it go to the histopathology, and they will like take a look in the microscope whether Aspergillus stay there or not, and yeah, everything. So what I did, so I do look at the medical record and all the laboratory result of the patient here between 2007 and 2017 in National Aspergillosis Center. And this is a bit of the results. So we got 29 patients. Is there anyone here who underwent surgery before? Okay. I just wonder maybe one of you is included in the study or not. I don't know. I don't know. So the median years is 25 years. The median age of the participants, and 10 of them are male, 19 females. And we can see from this the symptoms. So I recorded like cough, hemoptysis, soreness of breath, chest pain, asymptomatic or weight loss. And we found that before surgery, we can see here like 55%, like half of the patient from 29 patients recorded that they have hemoptysis before surgery. And then after 2 and 5 months, we can see here like 45%, like half of the patient got asymptomatic, so no symptom at all. But still 24% of them complain like cough. But it's a very significant result that half of the patient is asymptomatic, so they didn't record any complaint after surgery.
So with
Yeah.
cough, that's kind of, you can have a bad cough and a light cough, and it doesn't really capture that information.
Yeah.
If after surgery they tend to have an easier cough as well.
Yeah. So this is the preliminary result, which I took also the quality of life questionnaire result from them. So I think my future plan is to include the St. George, which is more details than this, because this is just only, we don't know whether the hemoptysis is light or massive. Yeah. So this is just, the temporary result that I can present to you now.
The take-home story is they do very well after surgery.
Yeah, I know it. Sometimes the MRC level also, they mention it, like whether it's 2, 3, or 1.
Right.
Yeah, it's
Okay.
good to record. And from this 29 patients, 26 of them, so from the figure that you see before, the lung tissue, the histopathologist, the laboratory, the pathologist can show the evidence of Aspergillus in the lung tissue. So it did grow there. It's not an imagination or something. And then the single aspergilloma, which is single aspergilloma means like only one infection in one side of the lung, is diagnosed in 22 patients, which is most of the patient. That's why they go with surgery, because it's only in one place. If it's like in many places in your lungs, so the surgeon cannot do the surgery. And the hemoptysis, is the most common symptom, 55%. And I said before about this. Okay. Is there any question? Or if I'm too fast or too slow? No. Okay, fine. And this is the results. So I put like the result of the IgG Aspergillosis level, the antibody level in this chart. But this one is the simple one. I mean, I didn't do any statistical measurement, but I divided them into two from 29 patients. This is figure A, which is antibody level in 16 of CPA patient with remission. So the group that have a good recovery after surgery. And then the B is the Aspergillosis antibody level in 13 patients, which is the one who get recurrence of CPA after surgery. So we can see here that there is a decrease or decline of the antibody level in the remission group, but in the one who have recurrence, the IgG level seems, sometimes go up, sometimes go down. So there is no decrease observed in the patient who have recurrence or the Aspergillosis come back again after surgery. And then I can say that the mean level or the level of antibody is around 217 before surgery, and then 2 to 5 months after surgery, it's going down to 163. So it's down. It's going down.
And what will be the level you would expect from someone who doesn't have aspergillosis? Much lower.
It's
50?
The negative is below 40.
Right.
Yeah. So the negative level is below 40, but yeah, we can see like there is a person with, for example, 50, but they don't have Aspergillosis. Yeah.
So do you think that those levels are a little bit high? This is specific for Aspergillus.
Yeah.
Those levels are still a little bit higher than you would expect in a normal person.
Yeah. So they don't going back to normal. Yeah.
Does that mean there is still some infection there, or maybe there is what we call colonization causing some of this IgG, which is harmless to the patient?
Yeah, it could be possible.
It's possible.
It's possible. Yeah.
Because now we seem to believe that most of us are colonized.
Yeah.
And people with CPA in particular have higher levels naturally.
Yeah.
It doesn't. So those people with the levels have gone down. It not as far as someone who at a normal level doesn't mean they've still got an infection.
Yeah. No. To establish the diagnosis, we need 3 aspects, which is the blood level in this one that we presented here, and then the second one is the symptoms of patient, which is more than 3 months, for example, cough or coughing blood or breathlessness, and the third one is the radiology. So sometimes we see after surgery the IgG level is stable. I mean, before surgery 80, and then after surgery it's still 80 or maybe just drop a little, 70 or 60, but the x-ray, the chest x-ray is fine. There is no Aspergillus in the chest x-ray, and the patient come very well, they didn't complain anything, so we cannot call them as active disease. So yeah.
I'm seeing along the bottom line there you say call that days.
Which one?
It says days along the bottom.
Yeah, days, yeah.
But you've got numbers of 1,000.
Yeah. So
1,000 days after.
yes,
Wow.
yeah.
So that's 3 years.
I increased the number of the patient. This one is 29, and then now I got 46 patients, but I didn't finish with that. I mean, I don't finish with that. So I see there is a patient after surgery who here for I think 8 or 10 years. Yeah. But sometimes the surgery is not happen here; it happens somewhere else in UK. Yeah.
That's going to be my next question.
Yeah. So for example, 2008 they have surgery in, for example, Scotland or wherever, and then on 2013 they come back, but here to Manchester because it relapsed. Yeah. So we do record that kind of patient.
Very good.
Yeah. but we don't have any. It's a bit difficult to get the IgG level before it, like on 2008. Yeah.
Yeah.
And this is the what is called the underlying lung disease. So from 29 patients, we got each of the 5 person have tuberculosis, the history of tuberculosis, I mean, and 5 of them have COPD, which is like chronic obstructive pulmonary disease. So person with smoking history long time sometimes get some the damage in the lung, and bronchiectasis, asthma, and sarcoidosis. And this one, 2 pneumothorax and emphysema. Emphysema is like if you do something in your lung or in the skin, so the air come to your under your skin. It's called emphysema, but this one is not permanent, so temporary, because the procedure of surgery. So because we put needle on the tissue and everything, so the air trap in under the skin can absorb by themselves. So this is typically not the harm one. So this is harmless one. That 6 patients got pneumothorax, but after that it's resolved. And then 3 patients had subcutaneous emphysema, which is air trap under the skin and can absorb by itself. And there were no intraoperative deaths, so there is no patient death in the table during the surgery, which is a good news. And from 29, I only got 8 CPA patient relapse. So I mean the complete data who are relapse, which means the Aspergillosis come back again after surgery. And I put it here. The red things is in 100%. So because it's very various. I mean sometimes there is a patient have antibody level 1,000, which is very high. So I just take this is as percentage. So red is when it's relapse, we call it as 100%, and then the green one is when after the doctor give the treatment for 6 months with antifungal, and then we see whether there is any decrease or increase in the IgG level. So from 8 patients, we can see like most of them 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Yeah, 7 of them have a decreased level of Aspergillus antibody. Only 1 of them go up. I can't remember the detail of this patient. Maybe she or he need to, more than 6 months to have a recovery from the Aspergillus relapse. And the IgG level here from the red one is 348, the mean range, and then it decreased to 162. So it's very massive decrease, along with the clinical improvement of the patient. So the patient does report that they're getting better after 6 months of antifungal therapy.
So sorry. So,
yeah. Yes, fine.
Prior to the operation, they would have had really quite high IgG, and they're presumably being treated with antifungal medication.
So this one is after surgery but relapse.
So, yeah, but before the surgery, they presumably were difficult to treat with an antifungal drug.
Yes.
That's why they had surgery.
Yeah.
And yet, after surgery, you've sort of 7 out of 8, you've got a good response with an antifungal drug.
No, this one is for after surgery. They don't have antifungal, and they come back through 2 or 3 years or 1 year after that with high level and with the symptoms, and then I record as the red one.
Right.
And then after that, 6 months.
Oh, got you.
Yeah, that's it.
Okay.
Is there anything not clear or any question? It's fine. Just question.
Your numbers there for your means, obviously, because you haven't got any error bars on those, so presumably they're not going to be significant in terms statistically significant.
Yeah. I cannot see. I cannot say this is significant or not under statistic, because my supervisor said this is just too small number, only 8. We cannot calculate the significant thing, but I can see there is a decrease. But yeah, the statistic.
Because some of them will have 1,000 and some of them will have 200 or 300. And your means going to be what? 600 or something. They're not exactly going to be very.
Yeah, so we need to increase the number of the patients so we can look the details more with more data, because it's only 8 patients, so I cannot say anything, but I can say that there is a decrease. But the statistical, we need to recruit more patients. I mean, I need to find more CPA surgery case and then got the details for that patient.
Yeah, but it's good for the patients that there's only 8 of them.
Sorry.
It's good that there are only 8 patients who have
Yeah.
relapsed after, because that is out of 140 something patients.
No, only 29.
29 patients. So,
Yeah.
so 8 have relapsed out of 29 here.
Especially the relapse is on 13, but only 8 have the IgG level complete.
Okay.
Yeah. My problem here is sometimes the record, patient come back and then they schedule for clinic, but then they come not in the time. So yeah, sometimes I decided to just record the data which is complete, because many data are incomplete. I think it's in the end, so I just go to the conclusion. So surgery in this selected CPA patient resulted in favorable outcome, decrease in clinical symptoms, and the IgG level of patient after 5 months surgery is going better. But this finding suggests in general that the IgG is potential tool for evaluating therapy and predict recurrence in CPA patient, but further work, many works required to establish this. Okay, thank you for your attention. So I just want to mention my supervisor, Professor David Tenning, Dr. Rina, Chris, and also Graham, and all the team in National Aspergillosis Center who helped me here during my study, and also my funding from Indonesia. Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you. Can you go to the previous slide?
Okay.
just for reference.
Yeah.
Next one.
Next one.
No.
No.
Back to the acknowledgements.
Oh, acknowledgement. Okay.
Christine doesn't like being called Christine.
Oh. Okay.
I called her Christine once.
Okay, she's not here, so thank you.
You're well aware of it. We haven't recorded it or anything. You'll be all right.
Okay, all right. I should. Okay. I sent this slide to her, but she didn't complain.
Okay. Any questions? I think it sounds like from your sample, quite a lot relapsed relative to didn't relapse, compared to other centres where we have about a 90% non-relapse.
Oh, really? 90%?
That's the figure I've been given many times, and I've read it in some papers.
Okay.
But yours are selected in some way, so that might be exaggerated for this centre, or?
I think the problem is the methods how we find this CPS surgery case, because I know like 1,000 or maybe I can't remember the total number of patients here in our center. So how we find this CPA thing? So I contact Chris, and then she said, "Oh, Findra, maybe I have some of them, but not all of them." So it's like
she'll have a spreadsheet.
Yeah. She got it somewhere and this way, and then we chase them. I chase Chris. Yeah, it's no matter what. Maybe because the number is not too big. That's why when David said, Findra, could you produce a paper for this? I said maybe I need more patients, because I'm not really confident with this 29.
Yeah, because we only do 1 or 2 a year, don't we? Something like that.
Yeah.
Something like that.
Some of them come from very old, like 2007, 2009, 2010, and we don't have any IgG level in that time, and that's a problem.
Right.
So I cannot compare before and after surgery, because we don't have any data before surgery.
Yes.
There's a data, but the precipitin only. So the titer of precipitin, which is only, they said 1 in 2 positive, but there is no specific like 90 or 100. Yeah. So it's my
I'm just concerned this centre isn't doing as well as other places. Well, I get regularly asked by people, by patients saying who've been offered this operation, and they're asking me, well, should I accept? What do I have to think about? What are the risks? And my answer is always about 90% improve.
Improve. Yeah.
And I always assume that that's, in fact, I've seen it written down, that this is the only way you can be cured of CPA.
Yeah.
Maybe it's not quite as black and white as cure and not cured. Don't know.
Yeah, I don't know.
But after Professor Denny's paper earlier this year, where he talks about colonisation of the lungs and fungal load, I'm not at all clear about what it is that's different about people with Aspergillosis and us. We have different fungal loads. Does that mean that like someone with severe asthma can have a high fungal load in their lungs, but then showing no sign of an infection, other than they're more sensitive to their asthma?
Maybe that means that the Aspergillus is there. I mean, they don't grow; they just stay there, sit down, but they wait for our body, our immune system to drop, and then they can invade our lung. But if our body stay normal, I mean, no steroid and then no immunocompromised condition, for example, like what is called here, maybe sarcoidosis or HIV, something like that, the one that's really severe, or maybe you got really bad bacteria like pneumonia, but very bad, that can decrease your immune system, and then finally Aspergillus find a way to go to your lung. So that's happened. But if you are stable, you are good, that it will not harm you. So
we still have a lot to learn about
that
whole thing.
And Professor Denning, big question is whether after surgery it can decrease to normal range or not. That's also my question, which I cannot answer it now.
You mentioned Pseudomonas, because there's a lot of papers out now where if Pseudomonas grows alongside Aspergillus in somebody's lungs, and a lot of people here in this centre have that happening, then they help each other to infect.
I think
so maybe a Pseudomonas infection can trigger it as well. Who knows?
Yeah, who knows? Okay, I think it's a good thing. I will pick it up in the data, maybe. Okay.
So,
are there any studies out there looking at IgG levels, specific IgG levels, in non-surgery patients, just with patients with CPA, before and after antifungal
there must be.
therapy?
There must be, and that's what I was sort of getting at earlier on, whether it compares to an antifungal therapy type experiment. And there must be. I can't think, none leap to my mind, almost because they're almost routine. That sort of feels like it's a routine paper, but I couldn't point you towards a specific one.
I think yes.
They must be.
There are papers, for example, I can't remember the one from India. So it's not in CPA but on ABPA, which is the asthma. They compare the IgG level, and then part of my study. So this is my study here, like a dry project without lab. So it's based on medical record, and the other part of my study is in Indonesia, which we got very many people with TB, as we are the third nation in the world with TB. So we have many TB patients in Indonesia. So my research project there is take the blood from the patient with TB and then follow up them for three time points. So in the early therapy when they first come to the clinic, and then 6-month therapy, and then 6 months after finished therapy. So I want to compare the IgG level in that patient. But that one is, we cannot say how many percentage of CPA because it's TB patient. But because TB and CPA have similar symptoms, so
Presumably, with TB, you're going to have somewhere for the Aspergillosis to sit.
Yeah.
So you can have the scar. Didn't the properties as good as in Kenya show that there was
with TB, with Ian Page, we showed higher levels of IgG. In the TB population. He just gave a big talk about that at PRS. Ian did, and when I talked to him a year or so ago, he was jumping up and down saying about the way Scotsmen do, about 20% of people with TB that was not responding to treatment were positive.
Yeah.
And I said, well, that's going to change the game. You know, that we're going to, if 1 in 5 have got fungal infection, and that's really important finding. In the talk, he said 6%. So he's obviously his data's not quite followed his enthusiasm. I don't think. But he's probably being conservative. So yeah, I mean, definitely with TB, sarcoidosis seems to be a bit of it's a severe one that we do have quite a few patients with sarcoidosis. So that's another one. So from your question about how quickly does IgG come down after antifungal therapy, I was sort of leading on to, it's 5 months seems to be quite a long time, or 5 years seems to be a long time for IgG to fall. I mean, you're only following trends, but if in the case where we treat someone with an antifungal, I would expect IgG to drop in a few months.
Few months, yeah.
So this seems to take a lot longer, and yet you've removed a lot of the material.
Yeah.
So I wonder why it takes so long.
I don't know.
No idea.
Still need research.
Also, a lot of those studies you said were done elsewhere.
Yes,
so
that's
you
true.
don't know
Yes.
how radical the surgery was.
And you haven't really got a baseline, have you? So because there's no.
The baseline like before surgery.
Yeah.
So this, sorry, I.
So you
forgot
got day
to
naught
mention.
here.
Yeah, 0 is surgery. So this one is before
So
surgery.
you have some.
Yeah, that I say this.
Okay.
29 patient, and I think I can't remember all of them have. I think this one is all of them have.
So there's a downward trend from here to here. But there's a few individuals up here, which is a bit odd. They're outliers. And then none of these appear here. So it's obvious in these people, I don't know why they're responding so much. They could have a immune problem or something like that.
Yeah, or maybe they have, other disease rather than Aspergillosis, so we contribute each other. We don't know.
Yeah, something like that.
Or maybe they are in permanent steroids, so the immune level is stay down.
Yes, true.
Yeah.
Very interesting. So you're going to be writing this in more detail before you go. Are you going home soon?
Yeah, I will go home in 2 weeks.
2 weeks.
For 2 months, and then back here again. I will test it like 400 sera of patient, TB patient, for IgG. Yeah.
I didn't think David would let you go that easily. Okay, great.
Okay.
Any more questions?
Any more questions? Or enough?
No? Okay. So thank you for a really interesting talk.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
And come back when you've written the full paper. Thank you.
Thank you.
That's nearly break time. Shall we call that break? Go and have a cup of tea. Come back at whatever it was. Now, we're working on Windows 10 here now. So it's all changed. So yes, that's how you do it. So, yes, so 1:05 break. Back at 1:15, and we'll listen to Megan's appeal for help, followed by my appeal for help. Okay, so short break. Thank you. Right, so I had to introduce you.
Yeah, well, sorry.
Does everyone know who Megan is?
Yeah.
Okay, Megan, I'll do my version, then you can fill in the gap. So Megan's come to us to do a, what do you call it?
Placement.
Placement, that's the word. Used to be called gap years or something. She's a student at Manchester University studying
Biology with Science and Society. It's like a biology degree, but I got to see humanities as well.
You have to give us a talk on that combination. And she's what we've given her a project to do while she's here, which is to revamp our old patients' website because it's starting to look a bit sad and out of date, and people aren't using it very much. Okay, so she's got that job, and she's already made a lot of progress. But now, guess what? She needs your help. So, handing over to Megan to ask for help.
Yeah, so I've made a start on updating it and Best done some as well, but we just thought we'd use like this as a sort of focus group for to find out what you think of it so far. So this is the old website, which hopefully you've seen before, and I listened to the I think it was the May meeting where you talked about the patient's website and what you wanted from it, and what was wrong with the old one. So the main things were that it needed to be clearer and more organised because there's just too much stuff on the front page. Some of the links don't really work. The content should be more led by communities because all the activity at the moment really is on the Facebook pages. So we need to, like, that's great that people can connect like from around the world, but there should be more like opportunities for interaction on the website because not everybody wants to use Facebook. And we also thought we'd look at like the frequently asked questions and comments and things that are on the Facebook page and like use that to guide the content on the new website because that's what people want to know. And also it's gone a bit. The information for patients and carers. Somebody suggested that we had the same information but written in different styles so that it's more easy to like understand from 2 points of view. So this is what we've done so far. And I'll show you the actual thing in a minute, but we've made it a lot clearer and easier to navigate, and we've included like a patient carer translation. So instead of, like if you're on a page and it says like switch to French or something, we've done that, but instead of like a different language it says I'm a patient or I'm a carer. So you should be able to access the same information but written in different styles. We've got a patient blog area so that you can write your own blogs and update them and comment on each other's things. And we've got a how do I section. So we looked at like the most common queries on Facebook and we've put them all in one area, and we've taken tips from people that people have suggested on Facebook, and that's going to be constantly updated by like what things people are asking and what people want to know. So this is the old one, and like I said, like some of the links don't really work. And then, so this is what we've done. I'll just make it a bit smaller. So this is the new one at the moment. There's not much content on it yet, but this is the sort of style we're going for. So I have in mind, but like at the end, like just let me know if anything, because it's your website, so anything that you want changing. But I have like in mind that this bit here, it's sort of featured posts. So if there's like a popular patient blog, or if there's a call for, so there was like an environmental sampling thing I think recently, then they wanted people to do that. So if there's like a call for something like that, that will go up on there, and that will be regularly updated. This bit is more like the latest news, but sort of the scientific side of it. And I know that's like, these meetings tend to always have like a scientific presentation. I assume people want to keep up to date with like the latest research, so that's why I thought it should be like a main thing on the front page. But again, let me know if that's not something that's important or as important. There's the patient carer translator. So there's nothing really on the carer's side yet, but and then we've got.
Could you do an example of what you mean by what would you tell a carer that's different to a patient?
So maybe so this is the how do I section. So say the advocate for myself, that could be like, oh hang on actually,
Can I just stop in quickly? The one that I had in mind was like if your partner's going into hospital, like what stuff do I need to remember? Because they'll, like if somebody's going into A&E, they'll be focusing on trying not to turn blue and things like have they got their medication, have I got their toothbrush, pajamas, whatever. That's something the carer will need to look at, but the patient's kind of got other things going on right.
Oh yeah.
I'll leave it to you next time.
So is this an actual separate website from the old one where everything was together, or is it
So
a link from?
I think the plan is that at the moment the old one's going to stay open because the new one's not got all the information on. But as soon as it's all been transferred to the new one, it's going to be the new website, and we'll just close the old one down.
But the website will be for medical practitioners as well as patients.
No, this is just for patients and carers. Yeah.
If there's anything sort of like print this off to give to your doctor, because a lot of doctors don't know anything about aspergillosis. We can put links in, because it's more like I'm the patient and I want to give this information to them, but it won't be searchable by them directly.
Yeah. So I've included this as well because it's quite popular on lots of websites to have, what people are looking at, what the latest comments, and what are the recent articles. So that's sort of the front page at the moment. There's not much more content on this website at the moment, but these will be the key static content. So it will still have all the stuff from the old website, just hopefully laid out a lot clearer. And yeah, this is the section that I was talking about that we took from the Facebook page. So just things that people ask a lot on Facebook. So for example, how do I do a disability assessment? Well, we've just taken tips from Facebook and other web pages and just put them in this a little blog so that you can quickly read over that. So yeah. So yeah, I just wanted to ask what do you think? Do you like the colour scheme? Is the layout clear? Is the right information featured? Just any comments or sort of suggestions you might have for things that should be featured?
At the moment, we can only see that on there.
Yeah.
I can't go and look at it.
You can. It's up, but it's not got most of the information on, so we're not publicising the fact that it's up yet.
Right.
But it is live. You can look at it.
Ah, right.
It's got a different name. It's going to be called aspergillosis.com.
Oh, .org. Yeah.
Because to reflect it, the old URL said NAC patients, so it's about NAC patients, intended for NAC patients. But this aspergillosis is an all-encompassing, everyone with the disease kind of URL. So we're moving over to that. And it's already there. If you type in aspergillosis.org, you'll see what we've done and how we progress as we go along. It'd be quite good if you went there and had a look and fed back anything.
So I've written a survey, and I'll put that on the Facebook page, and I can also email it to anybody that's not on Facebook. But that would be useful if you could have it open and just flick between the two and use it to answer the survey. But yeah, any comments here? Anybody want to?
Is it as easy to look at on an iPhone as opposed to an iPad?
It should be.
Yes,
hopefully.
I've checked and it is. Yeah. What happens is if you go to the thing. Yeah, almost every website now it will collapse. So that collapses. That forms the top bit, and then all these bits go out underneath, and it suits the style.
Well, and one of the other things we were thinking of having is some video content. So maybe a video of what happens to your sample as soon as you've given it, it going through the lab. Yeah. Things like that be interesting.
Yeah, so Megan's been doing a little bit of writing for the lab's new website, a few bits and pieces of the blog, so they owe us something in return. So we can go and video what they're doing.
Yeah, I don't think they'll be happy.
No, but they just...
But the pathway for samples, some sort of idea of timescale would be useful.
You mean a tractor?
If you're having such and such looked at, it would be useful to know it's going to be at least 3 weeks before these results are back, so you're not worried for after sort of 10 days thinking, why haven't I heard anything about these results?
So that's
And it
quite
takes 3
specific to this centre, isn't it?
Yeah.
Well, I mean, some things like if you're going to grow fungi, they're not going to grow overnight like bacteria.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm sure a lot of people don't
So-
really appreciate it.
I think we mentioned before, because the old website was sort of focused on NAC patients, maybe there should be a subsection of this site that still focuses on NAC patients, to say our process
we'll
would
take-
follow this.
yeah.
So,
So we're going to ask what the doctors and nurses want as well. So if the NAC section will be, things that they say you should bring along, or stuff like that, stuff just for this place. But the whole website we're hoping to make more accessible to everybody rather than just patients here. So yeah, has anybody got any ideas or suggestions?
so I quite like, if we go back to the actual website,
Yeah.
I think that looks a lot brighter and a lot more easy to look at and to read. We're generally keeping text a small amount, whereas if you look at the other one, there were paragraphs of text. And I guarantee no one read that more than once. There's short, snappy bits which fits in with just the way things are done now. Nobody can hold their attention for more than 5 seconds, can they? I was looking at you, don't you? Nice pictures that lead you to the country. So that's design, which we didn't really have before. Blue and white, nice combination of colours as well.
From an outer
Can I just say, when I don't go on the website very often. I'm a patient.
Yeah.
So I need to leave all that to my if you have a lot of changes on it every month, then that would be, as opposed to in the past when I've gone to the website, it always looks the same as it did 2 years ago.
6 years ago.
Yeah. the articles might have changed.
But if you
It
read
still
the
looks
words,
same.
the words have changed.
Yeah. The whole thing's probably changed.
Yeah.
But it looks exactly the same as it did to. Whereas if you've got different images up
Yeah.
every couple of months or so, it changed everything. All right, keep the words, but change all the images. Then people will go back to it and say, oh, it's changed from last time. Or
So-
I read this time.
So yeah, this bit here will just automatically update the latest things, and we were thinking of just putting things that we think people should know or popular things up on this bit here, so it is constantly changing. All the static content will still be there and it's still accessible, but it won't just be all on the front page.
So it's sort of a once a week blog,
Yes.
and that blog will appear up here and then
Yeah.
update down here and that sort of thing.
Yeah.
And the blog will quite often be led by the Facebook groups and
Yeah.
this group. If you want to give us some stuff to put up, some suggestions of what to put up. I get the feeling this group doesn't actually. The reason you're here is you don't actually look at the internet very much. Would that be true?
We haven't got the internet.
How many people have ever been to the patient's website other than Doug? Okay,
Been
so
to it, I go to it.
you've been to, but how long ago?
Well, when we get an email, Aspergillosis newsletter,
Yeah.
and if you click on that, you come to the website.
Yeah.
But that's why I was asking would the carers one be separate. It doesn't go to the carers one,
Yeah.
and it's an awful thing then to try and find the patient's bit.
Yeah.
And when you finally have found it, it's out of date anyway.
Yeah.
So that's why I was asking, is it a separate one? Because I've been on the main site and then
Yeah.
got lost.
And that system was born from there being a rather large page of stuff
Yeah.
that took quite a long time to change. Whereas if we're just doing short, quick blogs more frequently, then that probably is a good way to put content up there. And I sort of envisage this being more of because it's being led from a community, from Facebook. Because even on the old website there was one drop down which was a whole series of subjects that had come from Facebook, and I thought, well, I'll write a page about that and just point people to it. And then pretty much all of this, we would hope, is led by what the Facebook groups are talking about. So we'll write a blog based on a subject that came up this week on Facebook. So it's coming from the patients, what they want to hear information about, which I think will be a much better way of doing it. It's become, this is a community, it's not a static website, which it was. It's hopefully going to become a community which is led by Megan.
Yeah, it should be a lot easier to write your own stuff and comment on other people's stuff, because I don't know if you can on the old one, or if you can, it's quite confusing. So it should be like if I click on an article, just comment there. So it should be easy to interact with other people and ask questions. Yeah.
My impression of commenting on a website is two things happen. You get loads of crap.
Yeah, we've already got some.
Because there are robots out there doing it, so you have to have a sign in to stop those guys getting in. And when you do that, nobody else comments. Whereas Facebook is a forum where everybody comments all the time because it's sort of a safe community. So if we could merge the Facebook some way with that, that would work better, I think, than actual comments.
Yeah, that would. Yeah, I don't know
I
how
don't know
they
how
do
you
it, but
would do that
I know
when-
like on like BuzzFeed and stuff like that, at the bottom the comments are from Facebook.
Yes.
So
Yeah.
we could somehow find some way of doing that.
Plug in for that.
Yeah.
Integration.
Is there any sort of link with any new things that you put in here?
There should be. So would,
You know, like we've got seasonal well-being and that sort of stuff.
Yeah.
You know, which I think is new this time, isn't it?
It is. We think that's one we tend to use in autumn.
Yeah.
It is on the old website, and you haven't seen it, so that there's a case in point. You couldn't find stuff.
Yeah, so that will-
things that you've got in here, because I know
Yeah.
people sort of come here, or you've got a clinic appointment.
Yeah.
But the other things that I think would be quite useful.
But again, that's kind of led by the community as well, of what goes in there.
So something like that could be something that's always on the website, but only ever comes up like in autumn on here or something like that.
Yeah.
So it's always there for you to look at if you need to,
Yes, but it's
public,
advertised in that bit when a new one comes out.
Yeah.
Is it worthwhile thinking about, you know, you've got a community here, but there may well be a community down at Brompton. You can sort of tie in so that the Brompton people could click on the link for what's going on there, or people could click on the link for, and then you could put what the programme are for this meeting or something.
It would be interesting if the Brompton would cooperate. We can talk to Darius. Trouble when you talk to doctors is you get a blank face, as you probably noticed. And the internet websites, that's what I'm employed to do. But I think the principle of a link, and I don't think I'm being too forward saying we're already looking at other offshoots around the country which would be added onto that as a principle. So it's a good, but we'd need somebody with time down there to add stuff in. Whenever we can set these up, which is what I think Megan started to try and do, where other people can write content for us. But if you do that, nobody ever does. Weirdly enough. Even I set it up so that, and you could email to your blue in the face the members of staff here, and nobody will write stuff because there's a barrier to writing stuff into websites, and they would prefer to send us a Word document and we put it up, even though I've demonstrated to him it's exactly the same as writing a Word document. There just seems to be a psychological barrier to doing it, and of course clinicians are also have to be really careful what they type into that type of thing, and it's easy to trip over and type the wrong sort of thing.
Surely we don't have in talks every month. Eminent people.
Yes.
Surely they could do a little blog for.
Good idea, yeah.
Yes, this
On,
it could be
based
this
on
week's.
what's been said today.
Yeah, just do us a couple of paragraphs or something like that.
And the NAC.
Sorry about
That's
that.
Did you just volunteer?
Yeah.
And when you go home, send us lots of pictures of nice places, tropical places when we're freezing cold. That would be good.
I mean, that would be quite a good way of linking together sort of
Yeah.
talks where we've been updated on a project once a year, something like that. That would be a lovely way to.
In terms of research, I've been asking the BRC people and the university people saying, we want to hear more about all those projects that you're doing, because we as a community don't really hear very much. There's a lot of people raise a lot of money to support them and go to a lot of trouble to support them, and we don't really get good updates about what's happening. Projects get dropped. The one I heard only by accident the other day is that one where the surgeons were thinking of with Aspergillosis were thinking of passing a bronchoscope into a aspergilloma and then squirting some antifungal in there and coming back out again, because we'd seen a fantastically encouraging study in India that had done that. And I happened to talk to David the other day, and I mentioned that, and he said, "Oh yes, that didn't go anywhere." So he didn't tell me why, didn't tell me what happened to it. But that would be a real, I've mentioned it here, but we don't know what the outcome was. So there's more room for the research community to help us with this sort of communication, and not only here but at the university. We're now able to watch the university's PhD talks from here, which is as of a couple of weeks ago. So we'll have a much better idea what they're doing. But so you're right. If we do a couple of paragraphs about each of what these research projects are and add them in, and that in an easy to understand form, then that might be an interesting thing to do.
Would it be possible to have a link to this Facebook, so that because it's out on Facebook, isn't it? This meeting goes out on Facebook.
It does.
So could there be a link to that? Because obviously
Yes.
we're not watching it live.
Yes.
Will that be linked?
We can do that, and we can link out to Facebook directly from the page, but you need to be a member of Facebook to see it. So it will work,
Yes.
but there's a barrier. And it seems like most people are reasonably happy to be a member of Facebook now, but there's still a few who aren't. But we can't keep everybody happy all of the time, unfortunately.
But the recordings go up on here anyway, don't they? So
Hmm?
the recordings go up there anyway.
Yes.
So even if you're
Are
not
they already
watching it
going
live-
in there?
Not yet, but I mean on the old website, and I assume that'll carry on.
Oh, those
so-
recordings did,
Yeah.
yes. They kind of changed a little bit now, because I used to record, I still am recording the sound. Then I added the slides in, which I'm going to do again. Whereas we're also just recording directly onto Facebook now. So they can't really see the slides terribly well, but they can hear everything we're saying. So that works. And I think people quite like to see this, even if they can't. Everybody's not an academic and doesn't want to read the detail of this, but they like to see the interaction in the group working. Actually, there's about 20 people watching at the moment, so that works. So it's the idea of it's a community website guided by the community
Yeah.
for the community as far as we can achieve that,
Yeah.
which would be great.
So there's a survey that I'm going to post on Facebook, but you said you had people's phone numbers earlier. Have you got email addresses?
I can text everybody and
Yeah.
send them all a link to
Yeah.
your questionnaire.
If that would be okay, like if I send out a link to the survey, and then you could just look at it on the internet and hopefully fill it in and give me any comments or feedback if you have any ideas.
You've got access to a computer that you could do that? Yeah? Okay. Would it be good that both carers and patients respond separately?
Yeah. I've not thought about putting that onto the survey, but you could just write it in. There's quite a few comment boxes, so if you just wrote it in
Cool.
a comment box, so here, if you've got any further comments, just say I'm a carer or I'm a patient, and then whatever you're going to say,
Yeah,
something like
cool.
that.
And we'll send the same survey out to the Facebook
Yeah.
groups as well to see what they say. So they're going to have to look at it online to make comments.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. That looks nice.
So, yeah. This is a survey.
How many
is
questions?
the survey actually on the website at the moment?
It's not right now. I'll post it after this meeting. There's only 8 because I was limited by SurveyMonkey.
Okay. But those are expandable boxes, aren't they?
Yeah, so you can just write as much as you want in any of them.
So any ideas and tips and hints of what that can help Megan out would be very welcome if you could think of anything. Is that everything?
Yeah, I think so. Unless
Okay.
anybody else has any suggestions. Nope.
No? Everyone seems amazingly happy with your new. But most of the content, almost all the content on the original website will end up on there, but you'll be able to find it better, we hope. And that's kind of our job, to make that work. Or Megan's job, to make that work.
Okay.
Okay? Thank you very much. So there's no rest. I've got 20 minutes to tell you about a real project that's going on right at the moment. Oh, another project, I should say. Right. Okay. I've talked about quality of life on a few occasions, so you're kind of familiar with what it's all about. Based around this paper questionnaire, there are 17 questions, lots of them with multiple responses, total of about 50 responses required. Goes on to lots of different pages. You've all seen these. These go back to when I set the system up in 2009, because this was an absolute requirement of setting up NAC that we measured quality of life. They would never have set up the centre if we weren't able to do this. Okay. However, as you probably know, and it's becoming repetitive, it takes quite a long time to fill that in, doesn't it? It can be quite boring. And some of the questions are not relevant. So really that leads us to thinking that we could take some of those questions out. We can't just start taking questions out of this, because this is a validated document. We've spent about 2 to 3 years recording scores. The people who originally designed this made this a scoreable questionnaire, and when you fill this all in and we've entered it into the computer and run it through, you get a score between 0 and 100. And if you're 0, you're doing really well. If you're 100, you're not doing so well.
Well, you never told us that.
Yeah, it is. Well, we don't tell you the scores, you know. For some of us, it will awaken the competitive spirit, and we won't get a proper score out of you for the next 10 years. So we can't just rip this apart. What we can do is launch a research project to refine this. That takes time and takes money. Okay. Right. I was going to go through this on slides. I did this for last month, but you know what happened last month?
Yeah.
So there are some on here. Okay, so I brought up phlegm, that's fine. Coughing, wheezing, these are all relevant to asthma. Now, I'd have to get a clinician to say whether all of those are actually relevant to it. Aspergillosis, CPA aspergillosis rather than allergic aspergillosis. Good days and bad days. Okay, wheezing in the morning I think is more of an asthma thing. So if you had aspergillosis but didn't have asthma, maybe that question's not relevant. Oops. Oh, there you go. I thought I'd done loads of those. No. Okay. There's a question on here, which I thought. Questions about your medication responses include, I get embarrassed using my medication in public. Well, that's not necessarily an aspergillosis question. There's activities relating to your breathing. Can you dig the garden? That type of thing. In a lot of cases, it's probably not particularly relevant. Can I play sports and games? Not particularly relevant.
It's a pity you've got here to that bit about digging the garden, mate, I tell you.
Is she pretty good with a spade?
Yeah, Tracy moving it around the garden to do it.
And for some people, the medication question is irrelevant. So, so we've done that bit, haven't we? Yes. Okay. When you have filled it all in, like I say, it goes through a computer. And here are some of the scores. Totally anonymized, obviously. So these are right back from when we started at 2009. This particular this is all the scores from one person who was been here from 2009 to 2013, aged 57, which is getting very close to my age now. When I originally wrote it, that was nowhere near my age. But anyway, first of all, they said they were fair, poor, very poor. So that is just their own self-assessment, which actually isn't part of the questionnaire. That's one we added in when we originally set this up. That's between myself and Marie Kerwin. We said, should we have a how do you feel today question, because it kind of gets everyone in the mood, and it did. But in some of the marks here, the marks are split up into 3 different sections: symptoms, impact, and activity. So your symptoms, the impact it's having on your life, and how much activity you're able to do. This person on the 1st of April, I think that says, 2012, was scored 100 for activity, which means they couldn't do anything at all. Okay, but overall, impact on their life, 59. So they didn't rate it as being that big an impact on their life. So perhaps they didn't need to move around very much, or something like that. And overall, the score was 72. But this person is really quite ill, with scores of 72, 75. They're not doing very well. Then further down, we get 59, 56. I think that says 57. So further down, we may well have treated them with posaconazole or something and seen their scores drop. And that's the evidence that the posaconazole is doing something, and that's the vitally important thing for NAC to get funding to continue the use of voriconazole or posaconazole or whatever. That's how important it is to us and how we use it. That's what the doctors will see in front of them on the computer, if I can get them to open the computer.
What score we do when we first come in? That's nothing to do with this thing, is it?
Which score was that?
Well, it's this near chart, isn't it? It's 1 to 5. How
Okay, so that's
not that one. Sorry, that is just every visit you do that. This is the one every 3 months the doctors give you the two separate sheets actually, a big questionnaire. The other one is every visit you do regarding your breathing. That's a small 1 to 5, isn't it?
Yes.
Yeah, this is a different one. This one is every 3 months.
Oh.
You've been asked to fill.
That's SQL.
Well, we will be asked all this.
Yeah, you will be handing over just before
But-
you go to the doctor.
But on August 2012, we started recording MRC, which is what you're talking about. There's level 5, 5, 5, and that's the highest. So they're not doing very well. The doctors, we put that all in the one place. Also, weight is the other important factor. 70 kilos, fell to 60 there, but now has improved back to 70. What was that? That might be 68 actually. So we also follow this allows the doctors to follow the weight as well, and the nurses to follow the weight. So that's how we use it. Longer time consuming, slow to enter. One of the things that, because you're putting that into a piece of paper, it doesn't go into the computer until someone types it into the computer. In the olden days, that was me, but I've managed to pass that duty on to people who are better at typing than me. But it's still sort of Monday before it goes into the system, might be Monday, Tuesday. So this afternoon, if you filled this out, it will be much better if the doctor had straight away had in front of them the score for now instead of the previous scores. Now, we can do it now if the consultant specifically requests that we enter them straight away, because once it's entered in, it's instantaneous. The score's there immediately for them to look at. And David does sometimes ask me to do that, or one of the nurses to do that. But it would be better if we could do real-time scoring for doctors. One of the ways that we can do that is this is available on computer. So all this is a paper representation of a form on a computer. And if we were able to get patients to directly put data into the form on the computer instead of this paper form, then all the scores would be instantaneous. We have tried to do that and it didn't work brilliantly, but that was back in the days when tablets weren't commonplace, sort of 2009, and they were a lot more expensive. So we might be able to work on that a bit more now. To do that, obviously tablets, a decent tablet now is about £300 that we'd be able to do this with. So we could have probably, we could get funding fairly easily to buy half a dozen of those now. And that would enable this system to work seamlessly. However, we think we would still have to have an individual supervising the use of the tablets and to make sure that people have pressed send at the end when they'd finished typing it in, because we know that some people don't do that, especially people not used to working with computers. So we need to employ someone on a Friday to do that. Going to take money, but most of all, what it's going to take is probably a 2 to 3 year research project to get this form. We can actually already get it on computer. I designed it to go on computer, and we're only using paper because we had those problems with people using computers. But we want to make it better, go better on computer. We want to take out any unnecessary questions that don't actually tell us much about aspergillosis, and we want to add in questions such as questions about hemoptysis and that type of thing, which is incredibly important for aspergillosis patients. Once we've done that, and that is done via focus groups with patients to start with, there's actually a defined formal process to how you do this. You start off with a group such as this, then you go to specific focus groups, then you develop a questionnaire, then you refine the questionnaire, and I don't know how it goes on from there because we haven't got that far yet. And then we have to validate the score like we did last time. We have to validate the questionnaire that we end up with against the clinical outcomes of our patients, and that's the only way of knowing that the score means something in terms of symptoms. And that last time that took us about 18 months, because we literally have to get all of your records out and compare them against the scores that have been recorded, and that's quite time consuming, and it's actually really difficult to track down notes and to get access to them for an afternoon so that you can look through them for the information that you want. So we are applying for money to do this, and it's only about £50,000, something like that, which is not a lot of money in research terms. And there are 2 bodies that we can apply to. We've got the assistance of a senior research nurse in the university called Janelle, who is a professor of Janelle York, who's a professor of, these are called PROMs, patient research outcome measurements or metrics or something like that. So she's expert at doing this. We're putting together we're putting together an application for these funds so we can do this project. And Janelle has this morning come up with the request that we need a couple of volunteers, patients, to actually help us with this application. If you remember Paul Bowyer's application for £1 million, wasn't it, or something like that, to work on genomics. And we got that because over 30 people wrote letters of support for that project. In this case, they're going to be wanting to know, why do we need a specific quality of life recording device for aspergillosis? What's so special about aspergillosis? Why can't we just use asthma? Okay, so the people who the doctors know the answer to some of those questions, but the people best qualified and the people they will want to hear from are patients and carers. Okay, so if one or two people want to help us do that, and they haven't actually said what they want out of us yet, but from reading between the lines, I think they want a statement from maybe a couple of patients saying what specific impact aspergillosis has on your life. Why do we need to help people with aspergillosis? Are you not just another type of asthma? And describe what the hardships are in as much detail as you like, because people will be looking at that going, well, that sounds absolutely horrendous, here's 50,000 quid. Okay, so that's the sort of effect we want. After we've done that, if we get the money, then we'll need help again, because nowadays having you integrated in a research project, especially one like this, which is directly to do with working with patients, then we're going to need more help. And we'll have to run focus groups. And we'll have to do a few things like that. But first things first, we need to get the money. If you fancy helping, you can tell me now and give me some contact details. Or you can email me, graham.atherton@manchester.ac.uk. This also counts for people online who may be listening. And I'll get back to you and involve you in this project. I don't think this is we specifically need our patients for this project, but we probably do need people who are prepared to travel to Manchester to this centre a couple of times a year over the next 2 years, once we've got the money, that is. I'm trying to suggest that we can meet on something like Zoom or Skype, so you don't have to travel. Normally in this type of project, if you did have to travel, you'd have all your expenses refunded for you, although they don't give you much more than that, because then that would be offering incentives which they don't want. As far as I'm aware, this is not going to be drug company funded. It's not that sort of project. This is going to be someone like Wellcome or one of the government funding type or charity type funding bodies. But we will need feedback from lots of patients, and looking at it this way, if you give us lots of feedback and we generate a shorter form, then you've got a lot less questions to answer at the end of the day, because they will take over from that almost as soon as we have completed the study. There will be a number of papers written using that subsequently, and you may well get an authorship out of it if that is attractive to you. Okay, so please let me know if you want to get involved in that. We only need 1 or 2 at this stage, and they only told me about it this morning, so that's why I'm not being terribly clear about what we want out of you. They just want a couple of volunteers to help with developing proms. Okay, so thank you for that. Right, we're not going to do this. Was where Chris was going to step in, but Chris is on annual leave today, so we won't do this this time. So I'll skip over that. Also, we haven't done we haven't taken the roll call. We haven't got pieces of paper for you to write to say that you came because Chris isn't here.
Shall I send a bit of paper over?
You could do just to record. What does it record? Record names and addresses. Okay.
Postcodes.
Okay, so that would be great. It'd be great if you could just sign up yes, and in needs improving right up to outstanding. You just rank us. So that would be helpful. 2 minutes left. I'm just timing this to the last second here. We talked a couple of months ago about gamma interferons and how they help people with aspergillosis. I now hear down the line that the manufacturers are worried that they're not going to have enough, not going to be able to make enough of this stuff. So there's just a heads up that supply might not be as smooth as we would hope over the next 6 months, according to David. I don't know whether they're already having problems, but I've been asked to flag that up to anyone who's taking this drug. Next month, Friday, December the 1st, we would normally do the Christmas quiz, and we certainly want to do the Christmas quiz. The people who have the power to push us out of this room are pushing us out of this room on that day, which is the people who run the new trust. If you remember last time they wanted to do that, we made space for them and then they ended up not using the room, so who knows. But they've pulled rank, and at the moment we don't think that we're going to have use of this room next month, so we'll move. And like I said earlier, if I'll send you a text telling you where the new location is. 2 of you have given me new email numbers, or you're about to give me an email number, so we can keep in touch on that. I'll also talk about it in the Facebook page. And I think that is it. So thank you very much for coming. I hope that was some use. It's a bit warm in here, a lot of people falling asleep. Obviously nothing to do with what I was talking about. Or we didn't have enough coffee or something. And next month it's Christmas. What more could we want? So safe journey home. I have your parking tickets here if you need parking tickets.
you.